Although pennies are legal tender in any amount, businesses are well within their rights to refuse them, or any other denomination. You've seen signs for no bills larger than $20. In fact, businesses don't have to accept cash at all. If a shop owner decides to charge customers 100 gumballs for a roll of toilet paper, or 500 jelly beans for a roll of paper towels, they are within their rights to do so. This hasn't stopped many frustrated citizens from choosing to pay bills, fines, and taxes with obnoxious quantities of pennies as a sort of FU to the government. Nick Stafford made one of these penny revenge payments in 2017, after his own irritating experience with the Virginia DMV. Nick, who owns craftvinyl.com, has some pretty strong opinions on customer service.
We are the oldest sheet seller of vinyl on the internet. There's no one else out there that's been doing it longer than I have. We're 24 hours a day here, 6 days a week. We have a full-time day shift, full-time night shift. And last year we grossed a little over $3 million just doing vinyl, all from a $300 investment 8-9 years ago. I kind of took the customer service in the opposite way of what most businesses today do. We have an F rating with the Better Business Bureau. Most of the time it's just the entitled sense in America is customers want their stuff tomorrow. So if a customer buys from a page and it says, hey, your stuff's not going to ship for 2 weeks, that means sit back and wait for 2 weeks. That doesn't mean in 3 days send me an email complaining about shipping, because if you do that, I'll fire you. Like, I fire customers daily. I fire 3 or 4 customers a week because people complain, and that's how I've done business. And I went from an A rating with $50,000 a year to an F rating to $3.3 million a year in sales. And I don't know any business owner that wouldn't make that trade.
Nick capitalized on this success to buy his son his first car, a brand new Corvette.
If you buy a vehicle in Virginia out of state and you pay cash, you have to pay the taxes at your DMV, which is not a big deal. But the problem is, being an entrepreneur and a businessman, I despise paying taxes with a passion. It's something I hate doing 4 times a year with my estimated income taxes. So I, of course, naturally, legally like to find out the cheapest way to get by with paying my taxes. And in Virginia, you pay your sales tax and your yearly property tax for owning the vehicles at the county in which you reside. The problem is, I own several properties in different counties, and I also own, I think, 3 or 4 houses in 2 different counties, all within 10 minutes from here. So the problem was, some counties are cheaper in their personal property taxes per year. And I wanted to legally pay the least amount of tax possible, so I wanted to call my DMV, but there's no number registered for the DMV. The only number you get is a number to the national headquarters, or to the state headquarters.
Nick spent almost an hour on hold with the state call center. When he finally spoke to a DMV representative, he made an official Freedom of Information Act request and received the private, unlisted phone number of his local DMV.
So what I did was I called my local DMV, and I said, I have a quick question about a new vehicle purchase. And instead of the person saying, okay, how can I help you, they immediately said, how did you get this number? I said, I did a FOIA request. She said, well, you're not supposed to call this number. And I said, well, I just did. Click, she hung up.
Nick eventually got the answer to his question and paid the taxes, but the interaction continued to nag at him.
So coincidentally, within a few months after that, I'd purchased my wife a new Escalade, and I'd purchased a Silverado truck for myself. And I had to go pay the sales tax on it. But the original phone call to DMV just kept bothering me, because I knew I bought that phone line, and just something about government employees not complying with state law just really bothered me. So I wanted to prove a point. So instead of going in with paying $1 bills or something silly, I just figured, let's do it in pennies.
In a series of shipments by armored truck, a local bank delivered the $2,987.45, 1,548 pounds of pennies, to the Kraft Vinyl warehouse. With all of his coins in hand, Nick was set to pay his bill the following day at the Lebanon, Virginia DMV, whose office was ready and waiting with coin-counting machines.
That's a lot of pennies and rolls, and I just didn't want to walk in with $2,700 worth of pennies and rolls because they could just take them straight to their bank. I wanted to bust the rolls up to make it even harder on them, because then you got to count them, then you got to re-roll them, then you got to take them to the bank. So I had all these pennies here in my shop, and I had no clue what to do. So I started working on them 8 or 9 o'clock that night, and I had to be at the DMV the next morning within 12 hours. So after about 3 hours in, I said, there's no way. I had probably had a couple $100 unrolled. So I jumped to Facebook and put an ad on one of the local yard sale pages, and I said, look, I've got 300,000 pennies I need unrolled. Bring hammers, do whatever you can do, show up. I'm paying $10 an hour. Everybody was like, what in the world is this dude talking about? Is he crazy? Are you being serious? Can we show up? They showed up in droves. We had probably 30 people show up here all hours of the night. We had to keep one person out in the parking lot just to turn people away. It was pouring the rain. One dude showed up on a moped at like 3 in the morning while it was pouring the rain to bust up pennies with a hammer. And I finally let 11 people stay. I paid them $10 an hour, and it took each person 4 hours. So it was 44 man hours to bust up those pennies. And we finally got them done. I didn't sleep any that night.
In the morning, Nick loaded his 5 wheelbarrows full of pennies. The DMV required that Nick or one of his employees remain inside the office until the counting was complete, a process that took even longer after the coin counting machines jammed.
We were there till 10 or 11 o'clock that night, so it was 12, 14 hours just of straight counting pennies, 3 or 4 people at one time counting pennies. Now, a private business, like I'm a private business owner, if someone come in here with 5 wheelbarrows full of pennies and said, I want to purchase vinyl, I'd say kick rocks, get out the door. I'm not required to accept that. But just the wording of the way the federal law is, there's some gray area there. It says for all public debts and taxes, and I think if the DMV is going to require me to pay the sales tax, that is a tax under federal law,